Hello and welcome to the Small Business Briefing. I'm Brian Kelly, CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications. As we like to do on Mondays, we do want to welcome one of our new elite members, SCOG Construction. They're in Rockford, Michigan. So thanks for joining SCOG Construction team. So Brian, we probably need to get started talking about the big sports news here in Michigan, the Lions.
Yeah, really, pretty much everybody except for the Pistons, is on quite a roll right now. But and what a huge weekend is when you look at what's happening in Detroit. This is the time of year, especially since a few years ago the auto show, they moved it from the winter to the summer, and so it has been kind of a quiet time, winter in Detroit, and the amount of business they're doing downtown right now with these games. I mean, everybody's there. And of course, everybody's there at the game, but then just so many different establishments where people are just getting together to watch. It'll be fascinating somebody will do it. It will compile an economic impact of the Lions postseason run, or even the run up to the postseason. Pretty incredible really during my whole lifetime. I don't remember anything like this. People talk about like 1983 and a heartbreak against the Cowboys. I think back then, of course, I was born in '77, and I don't remember much about 1983. But it's just been a long time, and I have a feeling, I know anecdotally that that a lot of the companies downtown that are doing business are seeing their slowest time of the year turn into one of the busiest times they've seen in a long time.
Yeah, certainly happy for the Lions, and then again, like you said, for all the goodness it's doing in the economy as well. All right, so we do have a special guest joining us today from Blue Cross Michigan, Katie Dortch. Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you two for a conversation about coordinated care.
Yeah, very good. So what we try to do at least once a month is to dig into something that your Blue Cross plan, if you have one of if you have any Blue Cross plan, but especially hopefully if you have it through the SBAM plans, is to share with you something you may or may not know about something that comes with it. And so today, Katie Dortch is joining us, and she is a doctor of public health and solution manager at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And so, Katie, I thought we'd first, thanks for joining us today. But when it comes to those more acute, I think about like the acute and the complex problems that many people are facing. And even I think about like with my family, I've been fairly public about, got a daughter with autism and epilepsy. There's a lot of issues are very, very complex, and like just regular people who are not healthcare professionals struggle to coordinate and manage. And I think today you're going to talk a little bit about what Blue Cross does to help families that are facing those sorts of things.
Yes, thank you for having me again. I've been with the Blues for about 12 years and spent most of that time working in the care management area. And what I've found over the last couple of years as I've taken over our coordinated care solution is that a lot of people don't really even understand what care management is, because a lot of people aren't necessarily faced with situations where they may need care coordination. But when you need it, you need it. And so essentially, as part of our Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan base offering for all of our customers across our book of business, we offer care management. It's foundational to what we do as a cost-saving mechanism, but also just a support mechanism for members who may be going through really difficult times, complex situations. Maybe you have a child who's been diagnosed with a very complex condition, and you kind of at a loss. And what our team does, we've got over 300 nurses, and we identify members across our book of business based on claims data. We use social determinants of health data that comes in from publicly available sources like the federal government or the Centers for Disease Control. We look at regional data on where members are located. And we identify people that need our help, essentially. And so what our nurses do is they will reach out to these individuals and offer them support via a holistic care team. So we have care teams that are set up. They're led by a nurse, but they also include a social worker, a dietitian, a behavioral health specialist, a pharmacist, and a PCP that really wrap around that member when they're going through that time of need. It could be a member who's newly diagnosed with diabetes. It could be a member that has a baby in the NICU. It could be a member that is in the hospital for a length of time for a acute condition. We work with members at any point in their disease trajectory, and we really help them with things like ordering their medical equipment and helping them get their appointments scheduled, helping them understand their discharge instructions and set up reminders for when they need to take their different drugs or change their dressings. We will call out to their physicians and help play sort of the middleman between the specialist and the PCP and the hospital and whatnot. So we really are a coordinator. That's really and truly what it is, of care for people that are really, really struggling. The other thing that our teams are really good at is helping with sort of the social side of things. We help get members connected to community resources. We help with behavioral health needs. Oftentimes members that are dealing with chronic or acute conditions also have behavioral health needs that they, maybe haven't managed. And so we've got the support in place there to make sure that they're taking care of their whole body, not just the clinical side.
Great. And that is such a like an expansive breadth of services, and I think people would really struggle to, or people do often struggle to meet some of those needs. I think my actually being told my internet connection is a little unstable here. The Such an important service. I know what you guys do. Oftentimes, you're constantly enhancing and building up programs, and so I guess let me throw two questions at you. If somebody's like, that sounds like something I need, first, like how would they connect to it? Like how do they take advantage? And also what's new? I mean, what sorts of enhancements,
Yeah.
what's in the works?
So to answer your first question, we will accept all self-referrals, which is unique to our program. Some care management programs won't do that. But if you are struggling, or you have a family member, or you're a caretaker of someone who is struggling with a condition, or you have questions about clinical issues you may be going through, just had someone come in today, said, hey, my husband had a stroke. We're really having a hard time figuring out how to put all the pieces together. And there's, we're being told to do X and Y and Z, and it's a lot going on, and there's all these medications. Can somebody help us? Yes, the answer is yes. You can call the number on the back of your card to get connected to a care manager. Just call customer service. You can go through your human resources department, or your agent or account manager, sales representative. There's a number of different avenues. And if we do receive that information, we can get a case manager assigned to the case within a day. So if you feel like you may be in need of that, or you know someone who might be in need of that, please definitely do reach out. And to address the second question, part of, I've been in the role for a long time. We've seen a lot of changes in how we operate care management programs, both internally and in the market. Digital aspects have been huge for helping people communicate with each other. And so over the past couple of years, we spent a lot of time really looking at how we can make our program more robust and enhance it. And a couple of things that we've added, one of the pieces of our care management program that we've always had in place is high dollar claimant monitoring. And so basically what we do is every day we look at members who have accumulated $150,000 of spend in a rolling 12 months, and we review their claims history, their medical history. We look at if there are any opportunities for intervention. For example, if someone's getting infusion therapy at an inpatient setting, we could move them to potentially an outpatient or home setting and save a lot of money. So as we review those claims, we look for those sort of red flags that are opportunities for us to intervene and say, hey, maybe we could do X, Y, or Z to help this member save some money. In some cases there is, in other cases they're not. It could be a member with hemophilia who's just on very expensive medications. They're really well managed. They're just very costly. So we've always done that, but one of the things that we've added this year is now we're going to do some prospective high cost claimant monitoring. And what that means is we know about some of these high cost claimants before they come through the door through our prior authorization process. So for things like organ transplant or a long length of inpatient stay visit, high dollar pharmacy, these are all very expensive services that members have to get prior authorization before receiving. And we know about that in advance. And so now what we're going to start doing is taking all of those folks that have prior authorizations for costly services or medications and making sure that they get connected in care management as well. So that's a new piece where we're, again, we've heard loud and clear from our customers, hey, you know about these people in advance. What are you doing to help them? And so that is new. A couple of the other new features that we've added over the past year or so include enhancements to our digital app. So, it's 2023. A lot of people don't like to talk on the phone anymore. They would much rather communicate via text or chat. And we're finding that to be true in care management as well. So we've added a lot of enhancements. We have a dedicated care management app that our members that are engaged in our program can use to talk with their care team. They can chat with their nurse. They can chat with their social worker at their time of need. So rather than set up scheduled appointments, if you've got a question that comes up, you can send it right on over to your nurse. When she gets to work in the morning, she'll have a little flag, that notification that says John Smith has a question about his care. And it really helps improve the whole experience and a much more fluid and kind of seamless communication for members and their care team over time versus sort of these scheduled discrete appointments. So we've made a lot of enhancements to that. The app includes additional features like reminders and checklists that the care teams can set up for our members to help them manage their care. There's a lot of resources in the app as well. So the other piece of our program that I find quite important is that our care teams are regionally aligned. So rather than just get folks from all over the country, our nurses and their care teams are assigned to regions within the state and within the country. So we may have a dedicated care team that's assigned to the Flint area, for example. We will also have a care team that's assigned to Grand Rapids. We know from a social standpoint that the culture is very different in different areas of our state. They are maybe experiencing different situations regionally or locally. Flint water crisis is a great example. When we have our care teams that are dedicated to serving that area and that population, they're much more equipped to be able to refer people to community resources. They understand the culture and what's going on in that community at the time. They know the facilities and the case managers that work at the hospitals in those areas, and they develop relationships so they can really help members get connected to facilities. They understand the treatment centers that are available, substance abuse centers, for example, the good ones and the not so good ones. So that's a key differentiator of our program that we've really worked to enhance over the years, and I feel like has really situated us to better help members, especially those that are in Michigan, with their care.
Yeah, so it sounds, I mean, highly integrated with everything from the care, but also community resources that might be available. Now we've covered all kinds of different solutions that Blue Cross brings to the table over the last several months. How does the coordinated care, does it, I imagine, integrate in with everything else that you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I believe you've seen a number of our solutions over the past couple of months, from diabetes management to probably wellness and other things. And so we kind of consider our care management to sort of be the ecosystem of all of those programs, or the integrator of all of those programs. And basically what that means is no matter what programs our members have available to them, our nurses and our care teams have really at their fingertips all of the data and the eligibility information for those programs. So if Susan is eligible for a diabetes management program through Livongo or behavioral health program, our care teams can see that. They can see when the member engaged with that program. If they're eligible, they can help make referrals to the program. They will do warm transfers and stay on the phone with the member and help them get set up. So, for example, if we get a member with a new diagnosis of diabetes in our care program, our teams can help that member get not only with their overall care, but then get hooked up with their blood glucose monitor, make sure their equipment is ordered, and then get them into the diabetes management program or the pre-diabetes or weight loss management program, whatever it is that member is eligible for, to really augment that care and to support their additional needs. And so whatever vendors or programs that it is that our members have, our care teams kind of serve as the hub to make sure that the members are using those programs and getting connected to them.
Well, that's outstanding. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this. And remember what she said: self referrals, right? You just call the
They're here
number
to
on the
help.
back of your card. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you couldn't get simpler than that. So appreciate the solutions and just the way that you guys always come to the table at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan to put the person at the center, family
Awesome.
at the center of everything that you do.
Thank you for the invitation. Really appreciate it.
All right, yes, thanks, Katie, for that great information. We did share the link to the website, so if you're tuning in now, you can learn more, and of course, we'll have more on our website in the coming days. So, all right, so Brian, we have quite a few topics to get to today. The first up is Eagle, the department. They might get some expanded authority under legislation now being considered in the House. What's all that about?
Yeah, so the department EAGLE stands for Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, but it would be what you would formerly have been known as DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality. So EAGLE has been lobbying the legislature to change a law that would expand their rulemaking authority in certain aspects of regulations. So if you were to go back to the year 2006, there was a law that passed at that time, which really did rein in how far that department could go to draft new regulations in the form of administrative rules. And so this was especially when it pertained to water issues. So in water, in a state like Michigan, water's everywhere, right? The water table is never far below your feet, and the idea of regulations and permits and so forth. And back at that time, so this has been during the Granholm administration, there was legislation that passed that just put a check on that and said that you had to have laws passed to enforce new laws. You couldn't just do it through rulemaking. And what the department is now saying is that over the course of many years, that not many laws have passed, and so they're falling behind some of the things that they want to do, and so they're looking for a repeal of that law, something that really did just pop up this year at the beginning of the new session, and got a legislative hearing in the first week of session, and which means that it's on the radar screen. Whether or not it actually has legs to pass is another question. Now we're always concerned whenever there's an effort to take new law or new rulemaking authority, move it from the legislative process to unelected people within the bureaucracy to just decide on these things, especially when they have impacts on business. So something that we're just really starting to dig into and try to understand, but wanted to put it on the radar screen that this isn't one of the issues that last year looked very active. And right out of the blocks, at least a committee hearing means that it's not a dormant bill anymore, and we'll have to keep close track of this one.
All right, something else we're keeping close track of are upcoming elections. So next week here in Michigan, we have the special election, but then the federal election for President of the United States is also coming into focus. So what do you think? Is there going to be much of a contest by the time we have our primary?
Yeah, there's a lot. You might remember last year there was like a lot of discussion on whether or not Michigan would move its primary up earlier, and I think at that point it looked like there might be some real contests for the presidency on both sides of the ticket. It's not really shaping up that way, but just by by way of reminder, February 27th is Michigan's presidential primary, so it's pretty early, and you'll see a primary for Republicans and for Democrats at that time, and so while the field has been narrowed, the people that are on the Michigan ballot had been set for a while, so you might be surprised when you get to to your ballot and you see that. On the Democratic side of the aisle, of course, President Joe Biden, Dean Phillips, and Marianne Williamson. And those, I believe those are all three still active candidates, though it's not believed that President Biden's nomination is in jeopardy in any way. So I think on that side of the ticket, not really much of a contest. On the Republican side of the ticket, you might be surprised if you'll get to it and you'll see kind of a long list of names of people that made the ballot here in Michigan. And even though many of them have dropped out, they'll still be listed on the ballot. So Doug Burgum, Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, who just dropped out yesterday, Nikki Haley, who is still in the race, Asa Hutchinson, Vivek Ramaswamy, and of course Donald Trump. So what we'll see coming up this week here is the primary in New Hampshire, and just based on polling, it does look like Donald Trump is in a pretty strong position to win there, even though Nikki Haley is, I think will have a respectable showing. Yeah, but as a practical matter, it looks more and more likely that by the time we get to Michigan's primary, there really won't be much of a contest left. So really kind of shaping up to be a rematch for last time.
All right, let's kind of take a look internationally. There seems to have been a lot of unrest around the globe in recent years. I mean, there has been a lot of unrest around the globe in recent years. So let's talk about 2024. What factors might impact the business climate from around the globe?
Well, one of them that we just talked about. So presidential politics always plays a role when you have a competitive presidential election, which it looks like it would be a competitive presidential election. But looking around the globe, there are a lot of factors like totally outside of small business owners that could potentially impact the overall climate we're operating in. Also potentially some supply chain issues as well, and some ramifications on food and food supplies. We've seen all these things in recent years. But all of those things seem to have kind of subsided in 2023, and but some risks. So first of all, between the war in Ukraine with Russia, the Ukrainian government really at this point is kind of running low on funds. So Western support of their defense is not quite as strong as it was before. Some fatigue that is building, including among the U.S. government, those in the U.S. government. So there's a lot of food production, but also certain components that go into minerals and precious metals that go into a lot of products that are used worldwide, including in the United States. The potential for disruption there is definitely exists. You have also the impact in and around in Israel and Gaza, but then that actually does show some potential for expansion in terms of conflicts with others, bringing others in, but also the shipping lanes. I mean, there are some there's some logistical operations that, because of pirate activities supported by Iran, that people are going literally thousands of miles out of their way around the south, around the continent of Africa, in order to avoid the conflict that's happening in the Middle East. So then also, even just recently, the United States Navy declared a couple of Navy SEALs dead after being lost at sea after a mission to stop some Iranian weapons moving through. I mean, these are sorts of things like just it feels like things escalating somewhat, and it definitely will make it greater risk. The idea of just disruptions around the globe. It's one thing that we learned in a way that was undeniable with the pandemic is that everything is connected, and so different things that happen elsewhere they manifest themselves in just things not working as well as before, and that's not to mention just China and more overtures toward Taiwan and the semiconductor reliance that we have uh, in that part of the world. You know, these are the sorts of things that really could cause disruptions, and they're the kinds of things that we can't really, as as individual businesses or business owners, really can't prevent, but just to be aware that these factors and the world around us, unfortunately, doesn't look to be getting any simpler. And while the economy looks overall looks like it's in pretty decent shape, closed out the year. I think as we covered it, the economy being in pretty decent shape. It's not the same as the small business economy, and we're starting to pick up really at our association insight from members that things are getting a lot harder than they were even just a few months ago, and so that's something for us to really dial in on as we see this unrest and uncertainty around the globe, and we see tightening monetary policies here at home, which are expected to maybe loosen up a little bit next year as inflation has kind of come back into a normal range. Like maybe there'll be some relief in that front, but overall, it looks like 2024. It might, everything might be fine, but there's just mounting risks.
All right, well, on that note, do you have a new Data Monday report for us?
Yes, I do want to
Okay.
share with you oh, that's not the right one. I want to share with you a kind of a short Data Monday report, which is mainly focused on real estate. So the real estate market has been pretty. It has been pretty. I'll say complicated lately to keep tabs on everything, exactly what's happening, and because obviously interest rates are higher and it's slowed everything down. But I wanted to try to paint a picture for you on exactly what's happening, and if interest rates come down next year, then we're going to be in a lot better. I think we will be in a lot better position for things to loosen up here a little bit. First thing is existing single family home sales. When I say existing, this isn't the sale of a brand new home that was constructed, but just houses that are already out there for sale. And the total number of them that changed hands. One person did own it, now a new person owns it. And you'll see the last 3 months that they were negative, not quite as negative as or I should say the last 3 quarters, not quite as negative in this final quarter of last year as the third quarter of last year, but still 3 negative quarters in a row. And it has been a while. Actually, we haven't experienced that since the Great Recession before. So that's a concern. Then why would that be? Why aren't many houses selling right now? Well, part of that reason is because interest rates are higher. And if you look at the overall, what this color-coded graph shows you is that at the very top of the graph, you have the percentage of Americans with a mortgage with an interest rate over 6%. So you see, it's a relatively small percentage, just this little part up here, and so people don't necessarily want to sell their house and buy a new house when they're going to go to a higher interest rate. So that slows things down. The proportion of people that have higher interest rates is still relatively low because people aren't moving. They don't want to lose the interest rate that they have. And then taking a look at what the market is expecting in terms of the Federal Reserve and interest rate cuts over the next year, you'll see that it is widely anticipated and expected that the Federal Reserve will continue to, or will start to reduce interest rates. They've said as much. So I don't think there's a lot of drama on if they're going to, but the question is by how much. 75 basis points seems to be an expectation. And then, which will have a pretty big impact on overall interest rates, especially in the longer term interest rates. That's the Fed funds overnight rate that I was talking about there. The existing single family homes, in terms of their year over change in price, how much are they selling for? And they're averaging out now about 4% higher than a year ago. If you look back on this goes all the way back into the 1990s, this graph in front of you now, you'll see that 4% pretty much normal, right? I mean, it's settled back. The prices actually did go down a little bit in the last few months, but they've kind of recovered to a normal appreciation picture in terms of what what homes are selling for. And then new listings. So talk a little bit about new listings. You'll see here that it is the new listings coming on the market, nowhere near what they were in the pre-pandemic kind of averages, but a little bit of a rebound. You see that that there's a little bit of an uptick in new listings coming to market. And then I thought this was just kind of interesting. Redfin put out this percentage of each generation who own homes, and it does seem like there's a lot of pressure on housing stock right now. And take a look at this. So the millennial generation here. Look at this increase in home ownership of the millennial generation, getting up to 55%. That's a big generation. So like the idea that those are a bunch of new buyers coming to market at a time when there's not a lot of new housing stock being added, kind of stands to reason that you'd have some pressure. And then you see Gen Z, which is just kind of coming of age at 26%, and then like here's my generation X, and then the boomers up over 70. The last one here is just a picture of an article that I just pulled out of Crane's from last weekend, and I think this is something to pay some attention to. So corporate bankruptcies. So this doesn't mean small business or big business, just of those business bankruptcies. They're up about 80%, and that while historically that's not as high as the last recession that we had, not the pandemic recession, but going back to the Great Recession. That's a level not as high as then, but you really have to go back to then when you saw bankruptcies at this level. So it's not the sort of thing where it's like a shockingly high number that they went up to, because it had been low, but still, I think noteworthy that we are seeing, or have seen this last year, business bankruptcies start to rise, and not at an insignificant amount. Again, the absolute number is not like it was in the 2009, 2010 time period, but still, that type of a rise, another thing to pay some attention to.
All right, well, thanks for the update there, Brian. And I do want to let everyone know we'll be in Midland on Thursday for one of our owner-to-owner events. Excuse me. So you can learn more about that on our website at sbam.org. And we'll be back here 3 p.m. Thursday. Have a great week.
Thanks, everybody. See you on Thursday.